So it's my absolute pleasure and a real honor to welcome John Maeda, our Executive Vice President and also the Chief of Design at Publicis Sapient. Now, John is absolutely a design legend. He has authored multiple books. He has been on TED multiple times, and is a big proponent of the light, ethical, accessible, and dataful framework that he has been preaching at Publicis Sapient now, and also called the LEAD framework, right? And we'll be hearing more of that today in his keynote session. So I'll hand it off to John and Rakesh, who will be having some cross-firing between each other to kind of take us through the keynote. So all yours, John and Rakesh.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you,
so it's going to be me and Rakesh. We're going to be hanging out, talking to each other like we do. And then I'm going to switch to a camera. I'm going to share screen. And maybe we can end with me and Rakesh talking. How's that sound? Rakesh, sound good?
Yeah, sounds perfect.
Right. And then we have roughly 30 plus minutes. So, okay, good. Let's spend at least 5 minutes hanging out. Hey, Rakesh, how you doing?
Doing great. It has been 13 hours since this summit has started and still hanging on.
Well, you know, I am so blown away by XD Summit. I have been like visiting different conferences online, and this is the best one. It has so much information. It has so much depth, and the crew, everyone working together. Just want to say thank you on behalf of the company. Amazing.
Yeah, it does. I every year get really inspired by the sessions which are there. This year there was a session by Shruth, who was like 1 year from college, talked about quantum cryptography. It was really good, right? Like that is the state of talks which we are having on this platform out here.
Yeah, I mean, and even like I was watching a talk about finite state machines. I love finite FSMs. You know how you start. I used to build them on a digital logic. So you cover everything. You got machine learning. You got quantum cryptography. Congratulations on your new system.
They used the finite state machine to launch a rocket, Falcon 9 rocket, right? That was the demo which they showed for the finite state machine. That was really nice. Yeah.
So, I mean, I know it's computation, so powerful, but I want to acknowledge that you still code. You know, most leaders they're like, I don't code. I don't know how to. I used to, you know, when I was 15.
So here's what I am actually. What you're talking to me. He's code, right? It's no, you're not talking to.
Right. That's right. So you're like me, I code. So I appreciate that, and you know that I still code too as well. So we have a great connection, because if you cannot code, you don't know how to lead people who code, I think. What do you think? Is that true or false?
I think it is about understanding what they go through. I'll put it that way. And if you don't understand people, it'll be really hard. Like there are excellent people who can lead people without understanding what the persons are doing.
True.
But for most mortals, it'll be easier if they understand in depth of what the persons are doing. So that is how I see it, right? So if you have been through those trenches before, and like every military general has been in war before he leads his troops,
right?
So that is the analogy I'll take, right? So now coding become like a basic skills. It's no longer a niche skill, right?
Yeah. Well, it's like eating versus tasting food. If you can taste food, that's great. Just eating anyone can eat. So, and the other thing is when you lead people, you don't have to know how to code, because people are people, right? Famous Depeche Mode song, people are people. But I think that engineering, people who make things, they have a passion. And I think being able to respect that passion as a leader is so important. Do you agree? Passion for making.
Definitely. I think everyone who is there right now in this industry didn't come here because they were forced into it, because they all came because it's of a passion, right? If you really see the people in this industry right now, it is not really a formal subject, right? Like frankly, none of this is taught in in our colleges. So most people who
Right.
came to this learned by themselves, and you can't
Exactly.
learn it by yourself unless you have passion to do it, right? Otherwise, you'll pick some other field.
Right. You know, I remembered when I was president of a university, and I would always walk around campus. I would always eat with the students. I wanted to learn and be a customer at the same time, because that's how we learn, right? Managed by walking around, basically. And then I'll never forget, I was walking around, and then a young man stopped me in the street, and he said, "Excuse me, are you the president?" I said, "Yeah, I'm the president." "Yeah, oh, good to meet you," whatever he said. He says to me, "I noticed you're talking to those people over there." And I said, "Which people?" He said, "Those people." I said, "What's wrong with that? They're
Mhm.
your colleagues." And he said, "Well, they're just talkers. They don't make. You should hang out with us, the makers."
Yes.
So what do you mean? We have passion for making. They just talk about making. So then I said to him, "Aren't you a talker too?" Because you're talking to me.
You're not
And I
showing
was
me
saying
something.
that it's actually more important to talk than just to make. I mean, ideally both. What's your reaction to that?
Well, especially engineers, right? A lot of engineers come to me and say that, look, I'm really good at my skills, but
Mm,
I really don't know how to market myself. That is the word they use. I don't know how to
interesting.
market myself. So people,
Yeah.
I always get passed up, or I'm not able to show the world what I'm capable of. So I tell
Right.
people saying that, like, look, you need to have both in balance, right? So talking without making is one extreme, right? And making
Mm.
without talking is the other extreme. So you need
Yeah,
to have a
exactly.
balance between both, right? There is
Mm,
there's plenty of good ideas, right? Like there's like a standard thing in all the startups. You must have heard of it, right?
mm,
Everyone has an idea, right? If you're doing something about me, something about it, let us talk, right?
mm.
So I feel there should be a balance between talking and doing,
Yeah.
and then you will get a right you will get the right perspective across, right? You will be able to
Mm,
explain what you did, why you did, and
yeah.
why it is important, right? So
Yeah. I liked how you framed it, how there are like amazing people who don't need to know anything about something and can lead. But you said this phrase, but then there are mortals.
mhm.
And there are more mortals than these godlike people. So I like how you're framing the mortals have to follow different rules. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that because the majority is mortals. And if the mortals try to understand how the doing gets done, who are mainly talkers, that's good. If the
Yes,
people who are just doing and who have no respect for the talkers, that's not good either. You mentioned marketing, right? And like everyone who makes things is like, "Oh, I can't stand how so and so isn't talking about their work," and you know, they're just marketing themselves. But as you know, you're a public-facing engineer. You're a world-class engineer, and a world-class Formula One driver doesn't drive in their garage. You know, they drive on the track. You can be in the garage and like, "I'm the best Formula One driver in the world." You know, you're driving in your own garage. But you're driving on the racetrack of the world, right? And I think that's a difficult mind shift. How do
yeah.
we help that mind shift?
Well, see, for me, coming from the Indian subcontinent, I will quote the most famous literature which has been in our philosophy for ages, which is the Bhagavad Gita, right?
Mm,
In that, the Lord Krishna says to Arjuna, right? Arjuna says, like, look, I'm the great archer. I don't want to prove anything to anyone. So why should I fight this war? Right? I
mm,
just will sit in my practice ground and I will do the most perfect
mm,
arrows ever, which no one can match,
mm,
and which I know that, and the whole world acknowledges, so I don't have to do it. Then Krishna
mm.
replies, saying that, like, right, the most perfect archer is the one who actually plays in the war, not one, not the guy who plays in the playground, right? Um, He says
I'm
like
looking this up. It's so good.
there is a karma for everything, right? So that
Oh.
way, if you're an engineer, there is also a karma for you, right? If you do some good things,
Mm.
you also need to share those good things with the world. That's one of the reasons why I like the whole open source movement, right? It's not about
Right.
closing the things about. It's also about
Yeah.
showing the things so that the world can progress to the next level. So that is how I see it, right? Like it's not about talking about what you did so that people will think highly of you. It is talking about what
Right.
you did so that people can do better things, right? So
Right. Wow. See that? I'm so glad I came to XD Summit. I really mean it. I was Googling it just now. It's like, yeah, I never thought about that. Well, on that note, so let me switch to my presentation, and then we'll come back to maybe 20 minutes. Yeah.
sure.
Okay. I'm going to share screen. Okay. It's a dog in my house, so they'll hear that once in a while. Okay. Application window, movie recording, share. Okay. Do you see something, everyone? Can you do thumbs up? Oh, there you see. There we go. Okay. All right. So what is this? This is my hand. Can you tell? And this is the making of the CX report. And every year I make a report where I gather up different things I find on the internet. I spend a year just kind of smelling the internet, and then I try to kind of coalesce it into something. I am not as analytical or as good as Mary Meeker, who I got to work with at Kleiner Perkins. And she's got like a team of like Harvard Business School graduates working on this report all year long. You know, if there's one thing you look at every year on the internet, just spend time with her report. You know, if you're an engineer who feels uncomfortable with like money, this is a great way to learn about money, capital, because capital creates agency. And, you know, if you're trying to make a justification at scale, the work that she leads, Mary Meeker, is fantastic. So just to give you context, she makes real rewards. I just make like compilations of piles of ideas because I think that, you know, right now is so interesting because we live in an era where, interesting, focus. This is a SD card with 128 megabytes. You see that? That's from 2005. I actually bought these on eBay. this is 128 gigabytes. See 128 megabytes? 128 gigabytes. That just happened in 9 years, which is unusual, but that's like 10 cents becoming $100, which is an amazing thing. And that happens because of what you all know, which is Moore's Law. And so Moore's Law is so fast in 1 year. So what I do is I just collect everything I can find and then print it out. This is for all of you, this is very internal. I've never shown anybody this before, but this is the actual mess of how I look at all the data points out there. You think about what is machine learning, it's aggregation of a lot of vectors that ideally are super diverse and therefore produces interesting interconnections. So I have a lot of stuff in here. So I thought I would just show you what's inside my neural network for the next 10 minutes, okay? All right, here we go. Okay. All right. Okay, it's kind of like cooking. I like making bread out of all these things. Let's go into ethical things, because that's something I talked with Rakesh a bit about through lead, because the E of lead is the most interesting thing for the future because it's all about ethics. And ethics are hard because they involve history, they involve different cultures, and so whose ethical standards you use is going to be different. So it's super interesting. It's regional, and it really impacts whether you trust something. So that's why I believe ethics is so good. If you think about the technology field, MIT was famous for having something called Science Technology Society, SDS it's called. Let me play some music while I do this to give you some energy. Okay, there we go. Feeling it? That's a Dua Lipa. Okay, so when you think about this ethical thing, ethics are all about how you feel about things. And the technology world, so many ethical violations keep happening. So let me show you the ones I found over the last 12 months. And the music is to give you a DJ feel for the information. Okay, let's look at this. This is by the way, if you don't ever follow ProPublica is a great news source that really tries to emphasize the truth. This one is about employers use Facebook to keep women and older workers from seeing job ads. Not good, Facebook. This was from Elra. It is a way to prototype consent for humanity. You know how there's humanitarian aid and things like that? I'll zoom in here. Humanitarian aid. That has privacy concerns. So you can be a peacekeeping force, but also doing unethical things. This is actually, I pulled it from India. It is a Cadbury Unity bar, which I think caused quite a stir because of the skin tone emphasis, which prioritizes lighter skin. And, clever advertising, but what does it say? This is something on YouTube radicalization, because YouTube is a great way to use algorithms to surround your mind to see what you like, which is also a great way to advertise bad things around your mind, as you know. I'm not sure if they have this in India, this problem. We have a special problem in the US. This one is by Monica Lewinsky. You might remember her. This is the goodness bot. So she launched this project on Twitter that spreads goodness and it stops cyberbullying. And she was the object of so much cyberbullying. This is once in a while, in the US, the Congress does things right. And so this tech Congress feed points out people who are behind the congressperson who are tech literate. And that's kind of cool to spot, because if this person knows nothing about, going back to what we're talking about Rakesh, if they know nothing about the real way computation works, then they're not helping. This is, there's so many computer scientists are saying it's all okay, they're going to fix the problem with ethics, but I don't know. Anyways, very popular. Mark Benioff, Salesforce, super big advocate for ethics. This is about police. The police are using AI to watch us, as you know. I know in London they're very good at it. In the US they're getting much better at it. Probably in India it's pretty bad too. I love this one. It's like, what if AI in healthcare is the next asbestos? Isn't that damning? That was such good copy. This is Stephen Wolfram, the amazing Stephen Wolfram. He has a great blog. He talks about deep fakes. This is in Stephen Wolfram. He made Mathematica and a bunch of other amazing things. Super math genius, computer science person. And I also like to find weak signals. I'll collect weak signals. This is someone who's saying climate crisis is an issue, and this person's saying we need to talk less about mitigation, lessening it, more about adaptation, right? So good. Yeah. WordPress. This is a WordPress system that is able to use very little carbon. How many server systems use low carbon? If we ever ask that question. Sustainability, wellness economy. This is pre-COVID, but it's interesting. I was always looking at how we're well or not. Hello? This is a 4K camera. Experience economy. I collect things like this. Okay. This is, I collect random things that make no sense. This is someone's drawing that I really enjoy. It's a kind of like a, you know, a sloth-like thing, and then it's getting pumped up, and they hug. Anyways, like this is important to me. This is your kids think you're addicted to your phone, so like the popular press being concerned about tech usage. This is about like I'm interested in how things go away. This is a logger who's just one person, and he logs. He like cuts trees down, and it's an old way, but it's really needed in the part of the world that he lives. And so there are certain professions that don't need any technology. This was an announcement on, remember when Google had those apps to kind of like make you more mindful? I installed them on my Pixel. I stopped using them. Maybe I am no longer mindful. Oh, warning to myself. This was about, this is again pre-COVID, but this was an Airbnb-like service for corporate housing. That was interesting. This is a kind of like social good businesses. The pizza shop founder gives like profit or equity. This is a good thing. I love when companies do this. It's just important. Equity is so powerful. This is Ray Wang. He's someone who's like in a lot of circles, but authentic experience, P2P. And then I collect a lot of tools. You know, this is like Adobe's tool to identify Photoshop faces. I think that's so hilarious. Anyways, it's deepfakes are easy. So how do you identify them? It's kind of like the same company gets to make the problem, and they get paid to solve the problem. Yeah. Anyways, this is about how like at some brands they don't like marketing. Like Louis Vuitton believes that marketing is a 4-letter word. But in reality, they pay for a lot of marketing, but it's a great position. And I correct random things that I don't fully understand. So anyways, yeah, this is someone showing you how to mend your sweater. This is in Japan, there's an industry where they make plastic food. I'm sure some of you have been to Japan where they have a menu, where the menu is plastic food. So it's kind of like how you can have a whole town dedicated to make fake sashimi, right? This is a DevOps. Maybe you might have seen this. This went viral. This is a DevOps thing where someone is scooping the garbage from here and putting it into another garbage bin across. Anyways, it's like garbage in, garbage out, right? Mint and mending, repair, mint and mending. Something borrowed, something green. Sort of weddings, kind of like not just use brand new things. This is like clever people. This is like someone like opening a drawer and it sort of unfolds like an Iron Man suit. Cleverness. This is big tech AI runs on data sets labeled by. This is like how all this labeling done in AI is being done by people who are marginalized. Is that fair or not? Right? Not fair. This is a paper on this person, Hardmaru, is amazing. He's at Google Europe. He talks about how the face recognition system in China is being designed to find ethnic groups. Because in China there's a desire to move certain ethnic groups out. It's pretty scary, right? This is about communicating inclusively. I'm really interested in different person's view of things, about how Caucasian people see things, how older people see things, because the diversity thing is a question of many viewpoints, so I was collecting them. This is like, I'm not underrepresented. You all are overrepresented. So I like to find ways we talk about inclusion like this, collect them. luxury ends up being both access to and freedom from technology. Think about work from home. Like if you're a tech worker, you can do this. But if you're not a tech worker, you're out of a job. What does that mean? I'm really interested in museum collections, because a lot of museum collections have appropriated things from other countries. Like I'm sure, off the record, I'm sure that in the UK, there are so many things stolen from India that are in the museums, and that India was never paid back for, right? So this is like all over the place. I see lots of reactions on this one. Okay. And I like when people talk about their privilege. People can really kind of like say like they're lucky, others are less likely. What can I do with it? But I also like to point out that a lot of great business people, successful business people, are inclusive, and so I like to find successful business people like that. This is, how women are treated often. How can we make things better for women other than fixing women? Answers include get women to self-promote more, convince more women to enter the field. The industry has changed. Don't make men feel bad. These answers are not useful. So anyways, I believe that we have to make room for more women leaders and leaders who are different. This is interesting. What does it say? It says, I'll read it for you. It says, for every man that doesn't understand why women are fed up, last year Uber received 235 reports of rape, 280 reports of attempted rape, and 5,981 reports of sexual abuse between 2017 and 2018. So men, I ask you, have you ever called your Uber and fear the driver may rape you? I was like, I'm a man. I was like, I never think about that. So kind of an example of how unless you seek out these viewpoints, you just never get exposed to them. Even my reading these and reviewing them, I forgot, right? I forgot like in a year. Like, whoa, this is important and good for me as well. And then sometimes I'll like take notes just randomly for no good reason, trying to sort of get sense of it. But anyways. Okay, that is ethics. Let's do one more. Let's switch back to cash, and then we'll send you back on your way. Okay, I hope this is going okay so far. Which file should we go into? Oh, let's actually do more privacy and data. It's good. We're on the E for ethics. Let's go deeper. Okay. Whoa. All right. This is about the cost of data. Data is expensive to collect, store, maintain, move. There's an economics of data, something that both Tilak and Rakesh always talk about, the business of data engineering. This was a talk by Steve Jobs before he became famous, talking about his concerns about privacy. This is before the internet, so I thought it was really interesting. Maybe you know about Blockstack. I'm really interested in like how we integrate blockchain in different applications. This is a Reddit thread. Oh, this is so funny. This is like the Olympian deity, the demigod, the grumpy old hand. So this is kind of like what we're talking about Rakesh, sort of the immortals. Anyways, I'm interested in that. I'm interested in privacy policies. This is Mural's privacy. I collected it earlier this year. Finland has this incredible thing called Troll Factory. It's a way to teach ethics and privacy. I'm interested in like trust ratings. I think Mozilla has some really great phrases. Be smart, shop safe. This is Kate Crawford at Microsoft. Talks a lot about ethics and AI. Good stuff. This is like Apple keeps saying it's good at privacy, but you can find press about Apple doing things just as bad as Amazon. So Apple's marketing machine isn't winning. All the speech-based devices, when we discover how they're being used for training. Kind of awkward, right? This is superhuman. There was that email system, this email app that blew up, and people realized, hey, they're watching us all the time. Technology, personal data. Sarah Gold is someone I featured. She does something. Just type in Sarah Gold. Society-based design. It's really good. If Projects is the company. They have a lot of things on China. This is a smart toilet where you go and you can see how many stalls are filled in. I don't know if you had this in India. I've never seen this before, but it's kind of amazing. This is like a body cam thing for like, this is so prescient. This is 2019. This is about not including face recognition, the body cam. Data. I thought this was really good. Let me see here. Focus, come on. Autofocus, come on. Have you heard about Silicon Valley's unpaid R&D department? It's called the EU. Anyways, I just collect all kinds of these. I collect security and like tools that do that, etc. But let's go back to let's go back to Rakesh. So we're gonna close up here, everyone. Hey Rakesh, so welcome back. So that was my kind of DJing through a bunch of ideas, and we're gonna close this up. But any thoughts from what you saw there?
It's fascinating. I was just telling on the chat that hope you don't ask me that question because the amount of information which you showed.
I've got some more.
I echo the thought into some of the people saying in the chat, right? Like it gets to see a glimpse of how your mind works, and it is really fascinating for us to see this. And the second comment, which I think you will like, is everyone has been talking about AR, VR, and other experiences today, and your presentation style suddenly shows that all of that may not be really required. You can just do
I've got a quest. I love quests. So.
Yeah, but John, on a serious note, right? Yeah, some of these things, if I see, it is really concerning, right? Like if that is the word which I can use, right? In the search of profit or in search of ambition, I feel sometimes it is not even about like money, right? It's about ambition, right? Because some of the biggest violators are not the people who are doing it for money, right? They are doing it just because they just get a high out of their ambition of scaling their companies, right?
Interesting.
Because you know whom I'm talking about, but yeah, so that is strange, right? Like so. I think it is a serious time. I like that tidbit about Swedish schools or Norwegian schools, which they have a troll factory. I think every school needs to teach it, right? Like I think this is high time every school needs to teach about how to respond online, especially to women and someone different from you, right? That is, I think, is an essential skill which needs to be there from first grade, right? Like that's what I feel. And there's some lessons of business which needs to be incorporated in our business schools, which are not there. The same way as I was talking about in IT industry is not taught in schools. I think most of our business right nowadays is not taught in schools. We need to go back to the drawing board on what subjects matter, right?
That's a great point. You know, like my life was changed when someone showed me this paper about how it was a researcher who proved that if you're a woman, if you change your avatar to a cat, nobody will bother you. But if your avatar is a woman and your name is a woman, it's horrible. And so I did an experiment where I made the account with a woman face and whatever. It was not social media as we know it. So I recommend to like any man in tech, just sort of try it out. If you don't believe it, you'll be surprised, and when people say like, why aren't women presenting? Well, it's because they don't have to experience what they do. Let me give you a closing example. So I spoke at Google I/O, I forget when, but it was with, I they offered me a chance to interview someone very prominent as a woman person, African American woman, and it was a really big deal. So I said, yeah, I'd love to do that. So I give my talk, and whenever I talked at the time, I would put my cell phone behind my head so people could send me text messages. Oh, I lost Rakesh. Oh, I see thumbs. I think we're still running. Well, anyways, in case this is still running, I'll just finish that. But my phone number was behind my head. People are sending me messages, and then what happened was when I sat down to interview her, within a few seconds on my phone, I was getting death threats for her just because of how she looked. And to me, I thought, wow, I'm so lucky that I get up, I can talk about things, but that doesn't happen for her. And anyways, it's just to give you context that what you think is normal or right or easy, it's not the same for people who are different than yourself. And you got to think about that. So that's what I want to share with you. But I just want to close by saying that I believe that the engineering teams that we have, I'm just so proud to get to work with you all. And I think of when I first met Rakesh in Chicago, and I was getting into Flutter Dart. And Rakesh is like, oh yeah, I'm into Flutter Dart too. I was like, oh really? We could have talked. And I was talking about lead, and it was like, oh yeah, we do lead in engineering too. And it was just kind of like this really great moment. And then, I talk to Tilak every night now. My night, his morning. And that's just been a real pleasure to get to do. And then, Bhumika, I was mentioning that she's like Antonia Stark. So she's like really kind of creating so many new ideas, and it's just so exciting. And of course, Pavan Padilla, I know, I've used his library, his MobX, I get it. And with QuickLens, the app of the future, machine learning platform, Airbnb disruptor, I'm excited about that too. So thank you for having me at the XT Summit like this, Rakesh and the team.
Thanks, John. I think you're an inspiration to all of us, and thanks for coming to this XT Summit and sharing your views with the rest of us. It has really been a fascinating session. Thanks.
All right. Thank
Bye.
you.